Welcome to the next project after the 3D creation movie. We're on to the Caricature, and this project is going to be a little bit more relaxed, and you are going to have to probably watch it more times than the other movies, because there are a lot of things that aren't really, I don't know if I could say by the book here, but we're going to have some fun with this assignment, and it's all about preparation. So what I wanted you to see was the next project is the Caricature project, and I'm going to go to the schedule here, and we are all the way into week 5, which is really September 21st to September 27th, at least for the fall 2015 semester. So in the Caricature, I'm going to put this away, and this is the character that I'm doing. I have gotten Will Smith, and I thought that he's been really put into a caricature over the years, and I have several that I have brought up from the internet, but this is what I chose, and I'm going to bring over my web browser, and I'm going to show you that I simply Googled Will Smith, and I made sure that his image was, again, I went to search tools here, and I made sure that he was larger than 4 megabytes, okay, which was 2272 pixels wide by 1704, or something close to that. All right, now inside of there, to find my picture, if I can remember how I did this, I'm going to peruse it, just a minute, it's here. I went, that was my first one. I Googled Will Smith, then I Googled Will Smith 2015, and in doing that I clicked to the one that was here, and inside the one that was here I actually went to view more. Do you see where it says, where I'm circling, where it says view more? This was similar, but I wanted him to look at me, so I wanted to see if in view more there was more there to see, and I ended up finding the one that I wanted, but I made sure that I got a high-res one. So in the search tools here in size, I better go down to the 4 megabytes one again, and let me see if I can find it. If I can't, I'll just go back to the one that was on my screen. There was one that was, that would be a really good one for Will Smith, although he's looking a little bit too stoic there. I wanted something, I don't know, I wanted something so I could play with his suit like in Men in Black, okay? So the one that I had found was, let me go back one. It was this one, but this is the low-res version of that one, and I got a high-res version of that one. And he wasn't smiling as much, but anyway, this is the one that I had found. Let me put this on the other screen. This is the one that I had found, and if I go to Photoshop and right-hand click on it, my image size on this was in pixels, 2,108 pixels wide by 3,000 pixels high. Now you can see when I zoom in, I've got some really good detail, and there is the key. I don't care what you end up doing as long as it makes sense. Now I also, in the same search, I'm going to come over here to the other Will Smith caricatures, and I'm going to show you that I Googled some caricatures of him, and the one thing you don't want to do in a caricature is go so far past the image that he doesn't end up looking like Will Smith anymore. And so, although these are interesting, and I think the artist did an okay job with most of them, I'm not sure that I can see Will Smith in these anymore. Okay, so that one I can, and that one's about the best one, and I did about the same thing. I extended his ears, I popped his jaw a little closer, I made his forehead pretty good. I tapered his head more on the top, which is how I want to get into the transforms of it, but of course his wonderful ears, I extended his ears and I made his nose a little wider. So, and I went smaller neck and a smaller body, as you will see in a minute. That one is okay, and that's definitely a photoshopped piece. I hate that adjective, but that's okay. But I still think the artist lost a little bit of Will Smith in there, and I probably did too, okay? But let's see how I actually did. So I'm going to put the folder away, and I'm going to zoom back out. This is the image that I brought in, so of course you never heard an original. I'm going over to my folder, and I'm going to show you that there is my original image, and I have other possible images of other actors, and I'm going to show you those first. I went in and I found a decent one of him and Donald Sutherland, and I found a pretty good one of Julia Roberts. I think that she's obviously a good one for a caricature. I really like Daniel Craig, and I tried to find a pretty good one of him. I found a pretty decent one in resolution of him. He's a little too grainy, but that would have been kind of cool. And then, of course, I found the Will Smith character. And let me put that away. So what I did, I'll put that on the other screen because I'll probably need that later. So let me make sure that I'm doing this right. So what I'll leave that open, but here is the Will Smith character that I brought into Photoshop in a brand new file. Okay, so I have all this set up, and I'm going to try to do this all over again for you, and I probably will break this up into 2 movies so they're not so long. But there's the main Will Smith character. There's what I did. Okay, so I might have lost a little bit in his eyes. I think I did a good job in maintaining the character, and I had some fun with it, of course. I made his suit smaller, his neck smaller. I extended his mouth out to the left and right, his nose the same thing. I pulled his eyes in a little bit. Of course, I made his ears bigger. And I just feel that I did a fun job with it. I probably could have made the nose a little bit smaller, but the way we're going to do this is it would be easy to make the nose smaller, and you'll see why. Because the nose, as well, I'll show you now. Because the nose, I'm going to turn off this character and I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to go down to where my nose is, and you can see how I have a nose on the face which is separated. Okay, and that's one of the keys to doing a good caricature, in my opinion. I want to show you what Sean had done in his, and I'm going to leave his movie there, but this is Sean. Sean had done Steve Buscemi, and you can see, and I'm just going to play it for a second. Okay, so listen to Sean.
Recognizable as Steve Buscemi, but he is obviously been caricatured, right? And his head is also a bit smaller too. So this is what we're going to be doing. So your first step in this is to find someone.
I'm going to back up a little bit because this is what he talked about as he did it.
All right, so for your caricature, this is what we're going to be doing. Is we're taking a regular photo of someone.
He's going to show the regular photo in a second.
So you can see.
And I moved mine to the top as well.
Here's the original picture of Steve Buscemi. And what I've done is I've modified it. And what we want to do is find someone with very unique features. And we want to enhance those features and kind of exaggerate them, like you would see in a caricature.
Okay, that's exactly what we are going to do. So you go find your own character. And that's why this is going to be so different, because you're not going to do my Will Smith character or Steve Buscemi. You're going to do any one you want to, but make sure that you're getting some high-res pics. So what I'm going to do is collapse this folder and show you exactly how I want you to proceed. Now, of course, you're only going to have this original file here. Now, I already have paths that I've cut out, and for the sake of getting this done on a reasonable amount of time on screen, I'm going to maintain myself in this folder, okay? And I've made like certain layers that I may just say, well, this hasn't been there yet. So really the only thing that I started with was my original, the one that I have on screen right now. So your job is to cut it all apart. Now, let me tell you exactly what I mean by that. I'm going to open up the other one that I did, which is here, and I'm going to turn on a white layer on the bottom, which I don't know. Okay, I'm going to make a new white layer on the bottom. So I'm going to fill up this layer here, and I'm going to go Command Delete so that I have white, not dealing with the checkerboard background. Your job is to cut it apart, okay, so you have all separate pieces. because that's how you want to exaggerate those different pieces and not all do it on the same layer. So that's going to take a bit, and I'm going to show you exactly what I did when I did that. Let me make sure that's all I have. Now I am going to turn off all the top layers. Okay, it's going to look really weird in a minute because I want to get rid of all the layers to here. Now I have his cutout body that I've done, so let me turn on the cutout body. Now that's my original, the one that is the cutout body. Okay, so what I did was I first took this image, I'll turn off the white layer, and I did a path that I'm going to make into a selection. So I did a path. Let me hit the pen tool and show you that I did a path around his entire body. Now this is where I hit the F key to expand my screen to full screen so I can move it around. Do you see how I did the path around the whole body and around his ears here? And then I didn't try to do his head because it would be almost impossible to draw around that hair. I did the hair in a different way. So I just took the path right around here and then I went down the other side. And then I can combine that path with something else. So what I want to do is click to the channel. And I'm going to, well, first I'm going to turn the path off by command clicking on the path to turn it off. You can see how I can't get to the bottom of the path palette. So I can't click a blank area. If you have a path on, you control or command click the path to turn it on or off, so it's not selected. So let me go to channels, and let's make a decision by clicking on the channel. What is the most contrasted channel? And I found out that it wasn't the green channel, it wasn't the blue channel, but it was the red channel. So what I did was I took a copy of the red channel, just like I'm doing here, and I made a copy of it. And now I'll put it up a little higher right next to the one that I finished. And this is what I turned the red channel into. Okay, now what I really had it into, and I'll hit Command I on it to invert this, is that's what I had in. Now look at how beautiful that hair is, and that's his hair. That's, I couldn't have done that myself, all right? But I did do a little cleanup work to it to turn it into black and white, and then of course hit Command I or Control I to invert it, because I want to maintain what's inside the white area. The black area is something that would be outside the selection. So let's go to the red channel that I just made. Now the first thing you do is you hit Command L, which is to level off your new channel. Now I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing this. I'll do a very quick section, but I'm going to lighten up and darken and create a contrast. Now in this case I don't want to go too far to the center with the black because I'm losing it. So I'm going to go way over here and I'm going to lighten up this. Now look at how I have a pretty good, I didn't say perfect, look at how I have a pretty good edge to his hair. Now I have to fake it, okay, at some point. So I'm going to darken it a little bit more, or actually lighten it a little bit more. Yes, now I can see the edge of his hair right here by not bringing the black over. So let's in this case take the white and bring the white all the way over, and now I have a really good definition of his hair. I just have to fill in all these areas. So I say okay there. Now your job is to, and I'll do it quickly, your job is to paint. Look at how I have a pretty big brush, and I'm going to go almost all the way to hard on it, and I'm at 20% on the flow. I'm going to go to 100% on the flow. Your job is to fill in all of this area. I'll go as close to the edge as I can, and you can see how quickly, if I toggle the brush size down, I can fill in this area without missing a beat. Look at how I can go all the way through this area, and I'm trying to just maintain a real nice feel on the edge of that hair without getting close, because I have customized work to do in there. Let me make it smaller, and then let's just fill in all the holes that are in here so we come nice and close. And then I'll just come up like this, and I'll try not to damage that end, the hair that's over here. Now what you're going to have to do to that hair that's over there, let me just finish off a little bit of this, is you're going to have to be picky about it. Now look at how I can take this with a small brush. See, my brush size is small. I can come in and I can fill in by just tweaking a little bit of this on the edge. I can tweak a little bit of this and come in, and now I have got a pretty decent hair edge. Now what I want to do is hit the X key and come back out and look at how I'm going to give myself a little bit of an area. I'm just now just tweaking around some of the hair, and you can see if I stay away from this right there, and I'm going to click to the one that I already had done. Remember, your job in this case is to create a mask. The mask has to be, eventually this white area is going to be black because I'm going to hit invert. But since I'm dealing with the black hair, you can see how I'm just picking on the edge of this, and you can see how I'm leaving some of that hair. That's beautiful right there. I'll make the brush bigger and I'll fill in this area with white. Now look at how I've taken the edge of his hair right here. See how you can go all the way around the whole top, the whole bottom here on anybody's hair like this. This is why we do tutorials, so you can see. Now I'm going to click to the red copy that I maintained, but I'll go over to this side. So I'm going to hit Command I to invert that, and I'm going to click back and forth. So look what I had. This is what I had over here. This is how I refined it over here. So what I did eventually was I just filled in his entire head. Remember, this is to cut out his body, not necessarily to cut out his hair. Okay, but his hair includes his body, if you understand what I'm saying. So in order to get the entire selection done, remember, this is what I had. This is what I'm working on. So I would take this and I would hit the X key and I would paint this black, coming down where that path was. Let me click on that path again and show you where the path was. You see how the path was up into his hair right here? So I have to make sure in this that I come down farther than this. So you can see that I'm actually adding black underneath this. So I can add this eventual hair addition selection to the path. So I'm going to add this path and this selection together, and then I'll have his whole body. So do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so I'm going to click back to the channel, and I'm going to click back up to the RGB image. Now let's just make sure that in this thing here I'm in Command I, which is to invert it. Now watch how we maintain a selection of his entire body. Now I'm going to stay selected on the red copy, but I'm going to go back to the path and I'm going to make a selection of it. So now I have this part of his body selected. If I hold Control Shift or Command Shift, I can go back to the channel and I can add, see the little plus sign? Maybe it's too small, but I can add that upper area to it. So what I've done is I'm going to click up to the RGB image. Now I have a selection that includes his body, which I cut out with a pen, and his ears, but his hair was actually cut out with a channel. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's so powerful when it comes to Photoshop's ability to add things together or subtract things. Remember, Command Option or Control Alt would be to subtract a selection from another selection. Okay, but in this case, what I did was I took his image, look over here, I took his image and I now hit Command J, which is to make layer via a copy. So now I have him actually cut out, and that's how I arrived. I'll Command Z back because I really don't need that because I already have that right here. So I'll turn that off, turn on my white layer and turn that on. Now what I did was, I'm going to Command D the selection, is I'm never going to damage this, so I made a duplicate copy of it. Now what I want to do is to separate all the elements of his body. So I'm going to turn this off. Look at how I have a separate tie area. Okay, now I obviously in the paths I have a shirt path. I'll make a selection of the shirt path if I can kind of zoom into that. I'll hit the P key and you can see how I have a selection of the shirt around the neck and everything else, and then the nose. So I'm going to turn on his body, but I'm going to take away the opacity from it so we could see where elements are on his body. So I drew a path, wasn't even that perfect of a path, around his nose. I drew it around his mouth area. I'll click on it. So I separated his entire mouth area, and then I decided I needed the upper lip, which I can make a selection of it. I needed, I'll zoom in as big as I can get, and still make sense. I have his lower lip. Do you see the lower lip that I have selected right here? I have the teeth area. Now understand that because I can subtract things together, look at how I can make, I'll finish my sentence. I didn't try to do the inside of the mouth. I only did an area that went right through the top lip and the bottom lip. Now I know this might be hard to understand, but if I make a selection of that area, let me find it again, the teeth area. Now I'll zoom in. If you can see that dotted line that's working right there, I can subtract the top lip from it. So I'll hit the P key and I'll show you that this path I can subtract from that selection. How do I do it? I simply hold Command and Option and it turns into a minus symbol, or Control and Alt, and I click, and look at how now I've subtracted the top lip from that selection. Now I'll go subtract the lower lip from that selection, and voila, I have the inside of the mouth, which I never had to even draw. Do you know how powerful that is? I saved it as a selection. So I went down here and saved it for future use, and it appears in here where I have the inside of the mouth. So do you see how I now can add to my paths by having varied selections? So let's go now and show how I did this. So I cut out the eyes. Let me go back to paths. I cut out the eyes. Now you can see in here I have ears that I cut out, which I made a selection of, and then I can intersect them with the head. And I'm sorry, I can take the head. Oh, that's not the head that I need. It's the face that I need. And that was my other face. So I need to go back to my channel. I need to make a selection of the ears and go back to the channel and find out there's my head. There's my accurate head where I'm circling right there. So let me go back to my paths and make a selection of the ears, because I want you to see how the ears, I didn't care about this outer part of the ear because I already had done that on the head. So I only cared about the line from the ear, from his earlobe to the top of his ear. So if I go back to the channel, I'll just click on it very quickly, but you see how I already have the head cut out? See how I already have this cut out? So what I need to do here is to subtract. I have to find out what the heck. Oh, I know what I can do. I have, okay, this is going to add another phase to your learning process. So I will take and go very slow here, okay? What I did was, let me see if I have it there, okay, is I just made a selection of his ears, but the ears have too much left and right. Now I know that over here in the layer palette, his head is completely cut out. So this line that I am circling, I won't do both ears at the same time, I'll just do this one, or I'll explain it. Look at how in this part of his ear, I already have that cut out, and it's over here in the layer palette. So I can actually intersect a cutout layer with a path which was turned into a selection. Oh my gosh, that sounds so confusing. I'll go to his ears. I'm going to tell you that I made a selection of his ears by command clicking on them. Then I'm going to intersect the cutout body by going Control Alt Shift or Command Option Shift. And now do you see how by me Command Option Shift clicking a layer, because what is a layer? It's just pixels that have an edge, right? Well, I use the edge of those pixels to intersect the ears, which is, again, Command Option Shift or Control Alt Shift. Now, if I turn off his cutout body, do you see how I have the ears all cut out? So what I did there was I went down to his body, I turned it back all the way up, and then to get just the ears to cut out, I hit Command J, and I have his ears, which, by the way, are right there. So what I want to do is to show you that there are various ways you can cut out the body. Now what I did was, in cutting out the eyes, I simply drew a lasso around his eyes. So I'll again lower the opacity on his body. I'll go close and you can see how I'll show the right eye area. That was just a lasso that I drew around it. Now, so it doesn't look so weird, I'll click back up to the RGB image and I'll make a selection of the right eye. I'll make a selection of the left eye. If you can see it, it's right there. I just wanted this area and I made it larger than necessary. So when you're cutting out your shapes, make them slightly larger than necessary, because you can use a layer mask to get rid of and soften the hard edge. But if you haven't gone far enough, then you won't have that extra space to cut out the eyes. So here are his eyes that I cut out. Here is the right eye and the left eye. So do you see here how I actually have a fairly soft edge, which later on I added a layer mask to. So here is his right eye. So I used a lasso around his right eye and his left eye. Now let me turn off this. I'm not sure exactly what I want to do exactly there, but I'm going to show you the rest of the body parts. So I cut out the neck all by itself. I cut out the ears, as I've already said, by itself. I now have the mouth area that I cut out. I then cut out the inside of the teeth, the lower lip, and the upper lip. Okay? Now, because I want to do things with those with the Liquify tool and the transforms. Here's his nose. Now if I come up to the right eyebrow and the left eyebrow, you can see how I have all the important parts of his body cut out. There. That's what I wanted you to do. I also had his suit cut out. Now I'll put the suit back on. And then later I realized I had to separate the left side of the suit from the right side of the suit. But that's later. Again, I'm not going to have time to show you every single thing I did on this, but I want to now go to the important part, which was the head. And I want to show you the before head and then the after head. So I'm going to make a selection of the head and show you what I did with the head. I'm almost afraid to show you right now exactly what I did because it looks so weird, but I'll show you. So what I want to do is, so when I distort the pieces on the head, I'm going to click back down to the original body and turn it back on the one that I had cut out. Now, I am going to hit a Command J on that so that I have his head cut out. I'm going to put it back up here so I can turn something on and off in a second. Now I'm going to turn off his body down here. So there's his head. But I already have the eyes, the eyebrows, the nose, the mouth, the teeth, and his beard, his goatee beard. I already have those on other layers, right? So you're going to use a different thing like lassos to lasso those. Remember to make them bigger than necessary, okay? And later on, I actually cut out his hair on the other one, which isn't a big deal because you could use a channel to actually do not only the back of the hair, but the front of the hair. Okay, I think I even have the hair cut out. Let me turn this off really quick and go into the one I manipulated, and then I'll open it up, and then I'll just show you the hair part that I had cut out if I didn't already throw it away, which I might have done, which is okay if I did. Okay, no, there's the hair. So I'm going to take the hair and I'm going to just grab it. And I don't feel like cutting everything or turning everything else off. Maybe I can in here, and the reason why I have red layers is because these are my duplicate layers, because I don't want to turn them on in visibility. I just have duplicate layers there, if you follow what I mean. Like if I were to show a right eye here, that's the original right eye. Okay, so before I distorted it, I immediately turned to this one, which is a right eye copy. So let me go into the right eye and show you that this was what I did with it. So see how I actually made the right eye slightly thinner and then the pupil bigger. okay? But I didn't want to damage the original right eye. Remember, I'm all about not messing up an original layer. So what I'm doing here is I'm turning everything else off on this file so I can show you just what I did with the hair on this folder. So there's everything off as soon as I get down here. And now there's the hair that I cut out. So if I go down here and show you, there's just the hair that I cut out and off his body. But now I've distorted it. Okay, I've already distorted it. So let me close this, turn off that one, turn back on this one, and open it up. Now the reason why I'm telling you this is because your next phase of this is to take away all the detail on his face. You're to do this, all right? Because when you now bring up the eyes, let's bring up the left eye and the right eye. Do you see, and I'm going to hit the V key, but I'm going to Command Z back. If I click the right eye and I move over here, do you see how I can move the right eye over? I'll Command Z back. Do you see how I can hit Command T on the right eye and I can actually make it larger? And then I can put it back in place. And then if I hit the return key, I can actually have an image where I can actually show you the original and what I've done with it. So that's how you're going to distort all the shapes, and the secret is there's nothing underneath this eye to get in the way. So I'll Command Z back, but watch what would happen if I actually did something like had the other eye underneath. So I'll turn back on the main image. Now do you see how I have an eye that's underneath? I don't want that eye that's underneath there. So I'm going to Command Z back a bunch of times so I don't damage anything. Okay, so now I've turned this off. I've Command Z back a bunch of times. So your job is to take away all the stuff that's on the face. Now how do you do that? I'll do it very quickly if I can, even just a couple of them. You're going to use your fill with context with content aware. So you know what? I actually just took away his head that I already had done. So let me see if I Command Z back. There. Okay, I didn't want to take away the head, so I Command Z back because I want that head there. So, because I'm going to start removing stuff from here. Now, what you can do is once you've already got the paths that you've cut out, for instance, I can take the nose away off this face. I'll start with the eyes and then I'll do the nose. So I can go to the right eye. Look at how I now have the right eye area right here. Now really I don't really want to take away all the right eye, so I'm going to zoom in. So if I take the L key on this layer that I am currently selected on right there, I probably should duplicate it because I don't want to damage it again. So on the copy, I'm just going to surround this with a lasso just like this, and then I'm going to come up to that and I'm going to go let me fix this a little bit here. Okay, I am going to go to Edit, Fill, which is Shift F5, and I'm going to fill with Content Aware, and you just keep on doing that until you have your stuff done. Okay, now the reason why it didn't go away is because, doggone it, let me Command Z back, because I never turned the eyes off in the first place. You see the layers were still on? Okay, I have to go back down to the main one with it still selected. Let's go Shift F5, bring up that, and let's say OK. Now do the same thing with the other things. Now go around his whole face. Try to only maintain about 1/8 of an inch around everything. Look at how easy that was to do around here. Shift F5 and now get rid of everything. Now this is what I ended up doing with everything. So I'm going to show you that. I'll turn this on. This is what I ended up doing. Okay, that's all I want you to do. Now your job is to transform and maintain reasonability. It's going to take some practice. So you have to look at your character and you have to decide what it is you want to do. All right, this is what I did. I took that character and I made his head a little smaller. So you can see I actually made his head, his cheeks, and everything else a little smaller. So what I did to this face right here that I'm turning off and on, again I'll duplicate it so I can throw it away in a second, is I clicked on it and I went Command T. Now I'm going to show you a couple of tricks of transforming. Okay, I hope I can do it on this head. If I want to transform in Photoshop only this upper right hand side, I can grab this by hold the control or command key, and now look at how I'm only damaging, really badly damaging, the upper right hand side. Now I'll hit Command Z back so it goes back to normal. Here's my warning: don't do too big of transforms, and it's going to take some practice. Now I want to do a couple more things. I want to hold Control Alt and Shift, or Command Option and Shift. Now look at how I can move this to the inside, and look at how I can transform in 3 dimensions both the top corners. Now if I go back to the original, I can then do both side corners. Now that's by holding the 3 keys down in a transform. Let me Command Z back. I'll show you again. Only holding Command and Control does 1 corner. I'll Command Z back. Holding Control Alt or Command Option does opposite corners. Do you see how it does opposite corners? Command Z back. Or if you hold Control Alt and Shift or Command Option and Shift, you can do an entire edge, which is very, very cool. So what I did was I grabbed his head and I held Control Alt and Shift or Command Option and Shift, and I made it smaller on top, and then I shrunkied him down. See how I did that? Now I want to leave his cheeks kind of wide, so I want to now do the same thing to his chin. So I'm going to go grab Control Alt and Shift, and I'm going to make, whoops, that was interesting. Okay, so I want to grab this Control Alt and Shift or Command Option and Shift, and I want to make this slightly smaller, and now I'm going to make it a little bit more like this. Then I'm going to explode his cheeks out left and right. So I want to make his cheeks now wider. Then I want to shrink his head down a little bit more. So Control Alt and Shift or Command Option and Shift. Whoops. I have to make sure that I'm not grabbing that funny. And now grab it and make a gentle movement there, and now let's go down. Now this is what I ended up doing with this head. Okay, so I'm going to now turn off this entire saved modified face. Look at how I'm turning it off. I'm going into the one that I worked on, and now I have to go turn on all that other stuff that I told you about and turn off the hair, because I ended up keeping his other hair. And I'm only going to go through a series of showing you what I did, and then you can make the decision. I'm going to turn on the white background. Now I want to turn off the hair wherever I had it. I have to find the hair. I'm sorry. It's right here. I don't want that hair on. So this is what I did. This is the main character. This is what he did look like. This is what I distorted him. Now do you see how I made the nose wider? I'll zoom in. I made the ears bigger. So let's just examine first, because I don't think you need to watch me do it, but you can see what I did. You see how I took the ears and I made them wider? Do you see how I took the nose and I made it slightly wider? Do you see how I moved the eyes a little closer to the middle? Then I exploded his eyebrows. Now look at his mouth. I actually only widened his mouth just a little bit. You see that? Now it makes his cheeks look cool. See how I took the neck and I made the neck really small? So all I did was, when I had this all done, and I'll show you kind of what I did on the neck, okay? I could show you so many things on this, but it's going to take forever to do that, and I really don't want to take all that time on this. I mean, I could go to his ears as soon as I remember where I put them. Oh, they're down here. I separated his left ear and his right ear. Now, I have his other ears cut out. They just happen to be in that other folder that I had here. So if I wanted to go down and get his ears again, I know this is like a pain, and it's going to be a pain for you to turn everything else off and on, but if I go down and I go to the other layer folder and I get the original ears that I cut out, there they are. Now, if I make a duplicate copy of that, I can take those ears all the way up. Let's go all the way up to the other folder and put his ears right here. Now look at how I have the original ears. Let me turn off this layer folder. Boom. Let me turn on this layer folder, which was just a copy of the other layer folder. And now there's his original ears. Here, I'll turn them off and on if I can find his ears again. Here's my extra copy of his ears, right? So notice how they were on the same layer. So all I did was I duplicated that layer, just like this. Now I have 2 layers of 2 ears. Now I made this one be the right ear, and I made this one be the left ear. I separated them. Now what I want to do here is turn off the left ear. So I'm going to get rid of the left ear on the right ear copy. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's not, it's his ear, not the way I'm looking at it. So I take the lasso and I lasso around the left ear. Now watch how on this right ear copy I can just hit the delete key. Now I only have the right ear on that one, right? So let me turn it off. Let me go to the left ear. Now let's deselect and let's make a big lasso around this one. Now on the left ear I'm going to hit the delete key and delete out the right ear. Now let's go like this, and now I have a left ear and a right ear. Now let's go to the right ear. This is what I had. This is what I ended up having. Whoops, ended up having. So all I did was make it bigger. Now how did I make it bigger? I actually used a little Liquify and a little Transform. So I clicked on this. I'm going to turn on the one that I did and then lower the opacity so you can see exactly how I distorted that ear. It wasn't a big deal. So I took this right ear and I hit Command T. I then simply just widened it out, held the Shift key, and made it larger. Then I widened it out again. Then I brought it down, and that's pretty much all I did. Now, I had to fix the top of that ear. Do you see how I had to fix it? I had to actually take this whole thing and fix it because it had a little funny thing on it. So I added a layer mask to it. In a layer mask, I took the B key. I made it smaller. Now I'm going to paint with it almost all the way on hard, but the flow is way too hard, so I'm going to make it go down to 10. So I'm going to paint black on the layer mask, and I'm going to actually fix this ear. Now what I have to do is clone the rest of his ear so it's there. Now let me turn off the other ear that I did so you can see that if I hit the S key, which is the clone stamp, I can clone this part of the ear, which is at 50% value. Okay, I could go to 100% value, but in fact I will. 100%. Now let's see what the hardness is of this brush. It's all the way soft. So I'm going to target this part of the ear, put it right here, and look at how I can, oops, I have to, the reason why it went in white is because I was selected on the layer mask. Do you understand? I have to click to the layer. Now I'm going to target that again, holding the Alt or Option key, and then I'm going to go over here, and you can see now how I'm actually now repairing the ear, and there's my repaired ear. So I had to go in and make slight changes on the right ear, which is really the right ear, and let's go in and turn off the right ear and turn on the left ear. Now I had some changes to make there too. Okay, so all I did was go to the original left ear that was small. You see how it had a little indent in it, and of course that's the way his ears are, and I had to clean that up with a layer mask right there. So I turned the left ear into this ear, and you can see how I've now added them to the body. So now I'll click on the right ear. So through a series of different layers, I took his body and I shrunk it. So I even had to add to his jacket, and I made it look like he had sleeves out here on his jacket. So how I did that was, here was his, I'm going to turn off all the shirt stuff. Now, I took his neck originally. Here was as wide as his neck was. So if I take the V key on the neck and I move it in place, you can see it's too wide, right? Okay, so all you have to do is hit Command T to transform the neck, and you can transform it like this. Now, if you want to liquify, and I haven't shown anybody liquify yet, so I'm going to go to his eyes and show you how I liquefied his eyes, and I won't forget to do that. Okay, because there's a tool that I want you to see. Now, I'm going to hit the return key. So now I've shrunk his neck down. The next thing was his shirt. Well, this was what his shirt was. Look at how the shirt and tie are too big. So what I had to do was I turned him and made him smaller. I simply took the shirt and tie layer, I just clicked on it, and I hit Command T again, and I shrunk it. Look at how I'm moving them in position, not very hard, right? And then I can actually now just move it up. And now I can move it in position. Now, this is where the transform works. If I grab this and hold just the Command or Control key, look at how I can only transform this side. I haven't damaged any of the other three sides. So I'll do it again to this one. I'll hold the Command key and Control key and see how I can now maneuver that in place. So now I have his shirt, which was now too big. I now have it shrunk. There's what the shirt was way out there. Do you see the original body? Now I had to take his left jacket, okay, that's his right jacket, and his left jacket, and I had to move them in position. Okay, now what I did there was, this is the original jacket. It's way too big, obviously. So the same thing I did with the ears, how I put them on two different layers, I actually put the jacket on two different layers. Here's the right jacket, here's the left jacket. Now, what I had to do was, and let me turn off his other shirt, I think that's what the problem is the other shirt is showing. Okay, I'll go to the shirt that I fixed. Now, look at how, and I'll click on the right jacket and hit the V key. Do you see how I moved that in position? I'll Command Z back. See how I then moved the left, and how I just did that is in the V key you can right hand click on a layer. I'll say it again. In the V key you can right hand click and it'll automatically go to the right layer, and now look at how I can move this and Command Z it back. Look at how I can right hand click in the V key and it goes to the shirt and tie, or it goes to the goatee area, or it goes to the neck area or the nose area, or it goes to the right ear. That's the V key and right hand clicking. But I'll go back to this right jacket. See how now I can move the right jacket in? Well, I realized that I had to fix, so I have a little fix it layer. So I did a path. I'll go to the path if I can find it quickly, and here is the path that I fixed. I'll make a selection of it. Do you see how I actually drew a path to paint in with the clone stamp the rest of the jacket? I didn't use paint, I used the clone stamp. So I'll deselect, but I'll go show you the fix. Here's the fix. So if I turn off the jacket itself, right here you can see that I have, it's hard to see on the screen, but that's not paint. That's cloning the other part of the jacket on top of the jacket. So now it looks nice over here, and it looks nice over here. So here's the fix layer off, here's the fix layer on. So I actually took this part of the jacket. Look at where it ended. This is where it ended right there. So I actually cloned that little section to make it look relatively good. And you can't tell. That's fine. That's good. So I think that you can see here exactly what I did to Will Smith. If you have any particular questions, please email them. I'll even do a little movie on yours. Send me your file, and if you want me to do a section and to show you that section, I will. But I said that I would show you Liquify. So let's go back up to the eyes, and let me zoom into the eye, and I'll take, since I made a copy of them, see, I'm turning the eyes off. I'm not going to save this file at the end, but if I turn on the right eye, I'll duplicate it because I'm always afraid of messing up an original. So I'm going to turn off the one. So here's how Liquify works, okay? With that layer selected and your image selected, go to Liquify, which is under the filter menu. I'm going to zoom in on Liquify. Now you're given some tools over here in the upper left-hand corner. This one is a bloat tool, so it does exactly what you think it does. It makes things bloated or bigger. The one here is pucker, so it kind of just shrinks it. I'll click a pucker, and I'll pucker this eye. So if I want to thin the eye down, look at how I can just keep on clicking and I can pucker it all the way down to nothing. It's kind of fun, but don't go too far, okay? I'm going to restore it back. There's a restore button over here on the right hand side. So what I did was I puckered it 1, 2, 3. Then I went into the bloat tool and I made the bloat tool. See the size? See how you can still toggle the brush? I bloated his pupil up. So look at, see how I now made the pupil actually bloated? So I thinned his eye down, but I didn't want him to get too small, but I'll restore it back. Now if I use the bloat tool on the whole eye, watch this, you can distort the whole eye. This is how Sean did Steve Buscemi's eye. You follow? But don't go too far. I'll actually go too far, I think, and I'll say okay, and now look at how Will Smith's eyes are a little wacko. Okay, I don't think that looks good. Let me show you what the original Will Smith looks like. Well, he doesn't, his characteristic is more thin eyes than thick eyes. Do you agree with that? I hope you do. So I'm going to actually Command Z back or just throw away. Look at how nice it is that I made a copy of that layer, and I can say, well, you know what, I wasn't confident right away. So make a copy of all the cutouts that you have, and then do your thing. Now, if you don't like that, which I didn't, I'm going to throw it away. Then I'm going to make another copy of it, and now turn off the original right eye cutout, and with the right eye copy cutout selected, go back to Liquify. Now let's do what I did before. So I'm zooming in. I'm going to pucker it with a bigger brush. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to go to the bloat tool, and I'm going to make the bloat tool smaller, and I'm going to bloat out the pupil just a little bit bigger brush. Okay, that's it. Now I think I went 1 too far, but that's actually what I did. And then I moved his eye in a little bit, but making his nose bigger wasn't even that hard. So I didn't make a copy of the nose. Okay, the original nose cutout was, and what I should do is go get it to show you how big a distort I made on the nose, and then that'll be it. So I'm going to go back down to the other one, which is way down here. I'm going to take the original nose, which I'm going to throw into a new layer. Now I'm going to move it back up. So when you have everything cut out, I want you to protect yourself. Let me find where my nose is. I want you to protect yourself. It's coming up here. It should be anyway. There's the original nose. So I now have the nose that I got from the other one. So now, here is the nose when it came off Will Smith's body. Right here. There's the nose. There is what I did with it. So I took this nose, let me turn it on again, and I made it into this nose. So you can see the size difference that I did. Now, when you cut something out, it's going to look cut out. Okay? This is the secret now. It's the layer mask. So I'm going to disable this layer mask. Look at how, if I show you this part of the nose up here, make sure I have everything else cut off. Okay, so what I did was I actually made a layer mask, and I painted on the outer side of the layer mask to soften everything. Now I have a fix-it layer that I put in here, and I'm going to move it away. There are some bad things that happen that if I show you his original face, see how smooth this area is right there? Well, you can actually go back and get that. So if I wanted that area to come back, there's so many ways to do it. I think what I did was I just brought in a lasso of that entire area right here. Just a hard one. I clicked to that area right up here, and I went Command J. Now I have, whoops, I actually have to go into that layer and click and go Command J. Now I have that, and I'll turn it off, and you can see how I have just a little value right there. Okay, now the thing that I can do here is to move that back down to here turn off this upper layer, and now I have that new cutout area right there. Now, there's, again, I could have cloned it in there just by cloning the original layer. But in this case, I'll turn it off and you can see I wanted this area right here to come back. So all I would have had to do is bring this area back. I can hit Command T on that little area, open it up a little bit, and then I can add a layer mask to that and paint the edges of this out. I'm painting at 10%, and you can see how I can paint out the hard edges of that. Look how fast that is. See how there's a hard edge right there? Look at how I can take that hard edge completely off, make sure my brush is all the way soft, and look at how I can just blend that right into the face. So go lasso, or lasso, however you say that word, go lasso things that you want to bring back, and then just use a layer mask to blend them together. So it looks really weird without his eye over there, so I'm going to put it back. So that was one of my fix-it layers. Okay, I'm going to turn off that fix-it layer. I'm going to put his eye back on, and now I have his eye. I don't remember. Okay, that's the eye I used. So there is my file. Now what I did with it when I finished to get him into my Men in Black thing was, and I'm going to show you, to get this layer, this copy merged layer right here, this is what I did. So I'm turning this off. I am going to click and shift click all the layers that mean everything, and then I'm going to turn off the layers that I don't need. So I'm going to click all the way down to here. Now, this is all extra stuff down here, and I don't want this white layer, but I don't have to turn it off. That's the important thing. Now I'm going to take the Command key and click on the neck layer that I didn't need, okay, and I'm going to turn on the neck layer that I did need, making sure everything else is on that I want it on. Okay, those are the extra ears. Don't want that on, and I don't want, I forget which one is the one I don't want on. Oh, that one was the opacity back one. So this was my original ear that I'm putting back up. These are the two ears that I went and got for you. So I'm going to, oops, I just deselected everything now, didn't I? Well, I'll do it this way. I am going to Command click every layer that I want to keep. So I'm holding the Command or Control key and I'm clicking on all the layers that I want to maintain. Look, I'm getting them all. Look at how I don't want the hair. So I'm going in now to select all of these with the Command key held down. This is my nose copy that I went and got for you, so I'm going to skip it. Then I'm going to go up here and go to the left eye, the right eye, the eyebrows, and my fix-it layer. Now look at how I have all of these layers that make up the image you see. Got it? Okay, so I Command or Control click that. Now I'm going to Command Option E or Control Alt E, and it makes a copy merged layer of everything. Now what I did was, let me hit the F key. To get it into that other background, let me click over to the other background over here. And now that's not the one. Let me go to here. Okay, so what I did was, to get it into this layer, I'll turn this off. Let's go back to the one I was working on. I want to take, I'm going to turn off the folder of his entire image. So the only thing that's on is this copy merged layer. Again, to make a copy merged layer, Control or Command select everything you want. You don't have to turn the visibility off at all on any other layer. Just make sure the layers are selected. Then Control Alt E or Command Option E, and you will have a copy merged layer. Now right hand click on that copy merged layer and duplicate it to whatever background you had, which now I have it, and I'll go to that other one and there is my background. Now I'm going to turn off this blue layer. Now I took this image, I'm going to hit the F key again so I can expand this up. I took this image and I'll hit Command T on Will Smith and I'll shrink him, so I can have him fit inside my area but still have him be large enough to have some fun with it. So what I did now, I'll hit the return key, is I can hit the V key and move him anywhere, right? Okay. But I said, okay, I want to put a blue something over the top of this. So I just took and I put in a blue. What I first did, I'm going to go to my folder and I'm going to double click on the file to show you this was a very light image. This is the Men in Black base where they were below ground. You remember that? So let me turn this off. And now what I did was I took the Men in Black base and I just darkened it. So I'll quickly right hand click and I'll open that original base in Photoshop. So what I did was I just went Command L on the base, and you can see how I added a whole bunch of depth in value to the base. I'll cancel it and I'll close that one to go back to the original. Then I just put a blue layer on top. Now the blue layer was on a normal mode, so this is what it looks like. It's just a bunch of blue at 100%. Okay, so what you're going to do, I'll turn on Will Smith in a minute, is you're going to just go to a color mode or a multiply mode. Here's what multiply would have looked like, would have deepened it, okay, which maybe that's what you want, or I don't know. I like a color mode because it maintains the light values of everything and completely saturates it, but that was too blue. So then I took it down to about 40% on, I'll leave it at 50%. And then what actually I had it at 45. And then I turned on the layer of Will Smith. Now here is Will Smith to normal value, and here's Will Smith all colored, kind of neat. And then you can give me a JPEG. Send me your PSD file. I want to see all your layers of your caricature. Then just go get a background and then just make a JPEG of your composite here. Okay, I don't need to see all of this. If you want to send me a PSD file of this too, you are more than welcome. So I guess I'm just made a different decision. But let me hit the F key to show you what I want from you. I want your caricature. I want to see, hopefully you have an original layer on top. I need to turn it back on. Hopefully you have an original layer on top that I can click back and forth and I can see your change. Now if it doesn't turn out well the first time, please practice. I'll have to be honest with you. The very first one I did too much and I ended up looking like those other caricatures. So email me and have some fun with this. But remember, don't distort it too much. Separate all his body parts or her body parts from her face, and then use a myriad of paths and selections, saved selections in channels if you want to, okay? And if you have to, but cut out their face. And it doesn't even have to be perfect, because remember, layer masks are a fantastic thing. They blend edges of everything away. I guess I should have shown you a couple of things, but look at all the layer masks that I have on my layers of my cutout area. I mean, I really needed to melt his nose away. Oh, I guess I got to turn that off now. I really needed to go in and add a layer mask to that nose. I needed to go in and definitely add a layer mask to the edge of the eye, because if I zoom into that eye and I take off that eye, you can see that's what I needed to soften on the eye. It was way too harsh on the bottom. If I disable that, you can see this is too harsh on the on the bottom left hand side. So I'm going to enable that. All right, I'm done. Please add layer masks to all your cutout layers. And I'm going to actually ask all of you to watch this movie once, then go through it again. So take care and good luck.